So today we're going to talk about energy medicine. What is energy medicine? There's so much talk about it. There's so much intrigue and weird stuff, I guess, if you want to call it. So what is energy? Energy is, from a scientific term, the ability to move or do work, right? So we get energy, for example, when we eat food. We have energy from gasoline we put in cars, and it provides an opportunity for us to travel. So energy from more of the energetic perspective, which what we're talking about today, there's a physical aspect of energy, and then there's an energetic quality to energy. Similar to the idea when you intuitively probably have experienced when a person walks in the room and they're upset. And you can kind of, all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, what happened? And what you experience is that something changed. Well, how did you know something changed? Well, that's because you were able to sense the energy of that person. Now, there's going to be a whole bunch more stuff that goes along with it. Maybe that person's stomping or making some noises, or their face is looking a certain way. And different people are more sensitive than others. And so it's important to understand that there are a lot of variables when it comes to energy and energy work. But what we're talking about today is more along the lines of the concept of energy from the perspective of doing energy work. So we do energy work here in the office, myself and some of the other people that have been here. What we do is we interact in all the different forms of energy, and we work with a person to be able to help customize their particular needs and interact with those energies. Some could qualify food, for example, as a form of energy. We receive light energy from food because the sun's rays came and were able to expand the physical presence of that plant into a food which we then ate. And so it's important to understand that, again, that energy from that perspective allows us to move and function as a human being. Now, in Chinese medicine, for example, they talk about energy, or qi, is something that flows in the body, right? So in a general sense, we do have a lot of new scientific information and research that shows us that we also have energetic fields, for example. For those of you who aren't sure this is for you, the energy medicine piece, well, did you know that modern medicine uses a lot of energy modalities? So, for example, an MRI machine or an X-ray machine, right? So those are different aspects of energy and how the energy is either maneuvered or moved, as in an MRI machine, or an X-ray that has specific waves of energy that flow through the body that are then captured. Those are energy medicines. So even in traditional medicine, we use energy medicine. We just don't tend to think of it from that perspective because we live in the physical world, and there are only the engineers and the people who have created those things tend to think about it as an energy perspective. Now, something that we use here in the office is this idea of the morphogenic field or the biofield. What that means is, for example, the smallest unit of life is an atom. That atom has a field around it. And we see that in basic biology. And we can see fields emanating in nature, both small and big. Yeah, the North and the South Pole. In Chinese medicine, they refer to that as the yin and the yang. So as human beings, we have all kinds of different fields around us. Surprising fun fact, the heart actually has a very, very big energetic field. Sometimes if you have sophisticated, gentle enough software and or hardware, you can actually recognize a person, a human's heart, up to a couple of feet away. One of my favorite ideas to think about using energy medicine is if you have an animal. An animal has, depending on the types of animal, they have not only a super sense of energetic qualities of different varying kinds, but for example, I'll oftentimes refer people out to do animal therapy in their healing processes. So for example, if you think about our hearts having a big field that's quite big in comparison to a lot of the other organs, and you go and say, for example, sit on a horse or get next to another animal, their heart fields are actually quite large. And just being in the presence of another human being or an animal can affect your particular fields. And so those small and subtle interactions from that energetic field perspective is a big part of what we do here in the office, right? So if you can look here at the chart, hopefully you can see it, a big and balanced field is a person with a healthy amount of energy. Their organs, their body is working appropriately, and they have a good, healthy, balanced field. Now, a smaller field or an imbalanced field is one that is not as healthy. And so what does that mean? How do we interact with that energy? We do so on a variety of different aspects. So if we want to look at both the physical world and the energetic world kind of as a spectrum, right? So on the far end of the spectrum is straight physical something or other, like lead. It's super dense, it's super physical. And then on the far end of the spectrum is light and maybe even more subtle energies in relationship to like our energetic fields and those sorts of things. Now, there are certain people who have developed modalities that allow you to interact with those particular energies on all the different spectrum. Here in the office, for example, diet, lifestyle, nutrition, supplementation, functional blood work, we have to take care of the physical aspect of the body because that's half of the situation. If those things aren't taken care of and you only do energy work, sometimes things don't work out quite as well. But we also, which is my passion, we also do energy work here in the office. So what does that look like? So I have studied several different modalities as well as others, and there's a lot of different ways to interact with energy. The most common ones that I use are something called total body modification, creative emotional wizardry, emotional freedom technique, neuro-emotional technique. And so there's a lot of different, and there's a whole bunch of different other ones that I've looked at, studied, at least the basics. A lot of times there's going to be a lot of overarching things. Applied kinesiology, George Goodhart. There's a lot of our founding fathers that set a groundwork for us to do really cool, expansive energy work. Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years. So several of the modalities that I described actually base a lot of how they maneuver and how they interact with the body based on Chinese medicine. So I use a lot of Chinese medicine. I use it for when I'm interacting with the energetic qualities of a particular organ system. So for example, if someone comes in and they have high blood pressure, for example, sometimes we'll work directly with the heart, and then we'll also work with all the different parts and pieces of the body, both from a physical standpoint, as well as when we do energy work. We actually do some energetic turning on of systems, resetting of systems on that far end of the spectrum that allow the body to energetically adjust, which we are, if you think about it, we're energetic beings first, that then the physical body follows that energetic field, and the qualities of the physical are representative of the energetic field. So we kind of come from both perspectives, but my favorite part is actually working with energy. And you have to develop skills in order to be able to do that. You have to practice, and it's really important to have a protective aspect of the way in which you do things. And so, for example, oftentimes we get overloaded by certain people and us taking on their stuff. So I'll leave you with a simple technique today, recognizing that, again, energy work is a big part of us being human beings. And we can interact with the body, and we can help a person get well through energy work, even though it seems kind of crazy and out there. A lot of it's grounded in science nowadays, including things like acupuncture that have been around for thousands and thousands of years. And it's important to understand that just like going and cleaning your physical body, it still can be very, very important and helpful to be able to clean that energetic and our spiritual body. And so a really simple version of that is going to be a grounding technique. Now, the physical body, oftentimes the energetic qualities are going to be similar to the physical qualities, even though some of the rules are slightly different. For example, the rules of quantum physics are going to be slightly different than Newtonian physics. But in a general sense, you can tend to see overlap. So what I want to leave you with today is a grounding technique, like I described. Now, The physical version of the grounding technique is to actually go outside, take your socks and shoes off, and put your feet on the earth and walk on the earth. There's going to be tons of negative ions that are going to provide antioxidants, which is going to be, if you've ever seen an old bumper, the old iron bumpers, they used to rust, right? And they used to break down. And so certain parts of our body tend to, if you want to call it, rust or oxidize and break down. And so if we go and we put our feet on the physical earth, then we can get those negative ions to help repair our bodies. Now, in that same kind of quality, as we unload the things that we don't want into the earth and it replenishes us, we can also do a similar context with some energy work, grounding. So what I want you to do is we're actually going to just run through in your mind. If you want to close your eyes just for a moment, if you want to put your feet flat on the ground, you can do this laying, but you can imagine your feet are flat on the ground. What you're going to do is in your mind, you're going to imagine yourself with those feet on the ground at the base of your sacrum, or the term technically speaking is the perineum. At the perineum, you're going to run a cord all the way down from the center of your perineum all the way down to the center of the earth. And once that cord connects, with each breath, what you want to do is you want to expand that cord until it's about the same size as your hips or pelvis, or the size of a small tree trunk. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to connect with the earth's energy. It's also going to provide a grounding cord, similar to the way in which you grounded with the actual physical reality of the earth. Energetically, you're now going to connect with the earth, and that means you can unload emotional baggage, energetic baggage, into and drop it right onto that cord into the earth. Now, there's a lot of different ways of doing this. My favorite is to think about taking that really stressful experience with that person that you really had a hard time interacting with recently, and taking it and taking the energy of it. You could probably feel it in your body. You grab it, crinkle it up, make it into a rock or a folded piece of paper, and just toss it down that cord. And the earth will take as much as you can give. And the beauty of that is, if you want to go to the next stage, what you can do is you can kind of open your feet up in your mind. You can see your feet open up energetically. And that same spot where your feet are actually touching the earth, you can feel the earth's energy. It's supportive, it's stable, it's light. It brings you up through your knee. It comes up through your knees, your calves, your quads, through your hips. And then any excess energy then is, go ahead and drop that excess energy right down that energy cord. And so you have this beautiful constant flow of energy from the earth, filling you, lightening you up, building you up, and allowing you to function in the world. And anything extra that is not good for you or that you don't want, you can drop down that energetic cord. This is a beautiful, simple technique. I'll go ahead and add the core essence protection in the link below, as well as follow us and like if you like our content. Our goal is to be able to provide excellent information to help improve your life. This is Dr. Fisher. Until next time.